Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm wrapping up my conversation with the three ladies, Corey, Joyce, and Barbie, who were guardians for children, Walton family members, the kids on the Waltons. So here they are once more. We get asked our favorite episodes, and we tend to answer based off of the combination of there's the shows that I watch that I think are some of the best episodes. And then there's the ones that were the most memorable to film or whatever. So from your perspective, since you were around so much, in terms of the ones that stand out for you about the filming of it for one reason or another, particular scenes that were filmed? Were there things that you really went, oh, you wanted to watch that? I don't imagine you stood and watched everything that was filmed. I know I certainly couldn't. But
well, yeah, I just remember when Ronnie Howard was on.
Oh,
I went to high school with him.
Well, that was what was so funny was Corey was standing next to me and Ronnie walked by and he went, hi, Corey. And Corey goes, hi, Ronnie. And then stopped and looked and went, Corey? And she went, hi, I work here. And he's like, oh, okay. And so that's how they related. But to watch that scene with John and that kid dying, the way that whole show was, I've never seen so many giant Union men cry like babies. And the whole experience was just, that's probably my most memorable experience of being involved and watching this thing evolve. The acting was so phenomenal. It was just one of the best episodes ever.
Whatever happened to him anyway, Ronnie Howard?
I don't know. Right? Lives out.
He showed such promise,
Yeah, I know, right?
He's a good one.
Do you have some particular standout scenes or that you remember the filming of or episodes? Or
No, I remember Mary had her first kiss on one of the shows. And I think I forget who the actor was, but he had, I guess he had put like hot sauce or something in his mouth or whatever. And it was like, and I got mad at him. I was like, don't do that to her. And there was another,
Dennis O'Keefe?
It could have been.
Michael O'Keefe?
It could have been. Yeah. And I don't know if it was he or somebody else that also gave her like a wedgie. And I got very angry at him. You don't do that to my Mary.
No. Go, Mama.
Yeah.
The episode I remember is the one with Beulah Bondi where she had to leave her house, which I guess had no electricity because the road was coming through, and they put her in this new house, and they were showing her what a light switch was. Yeah. And then when she was like turning it on, like, wow, and then when she left after her filming was done, she had this little long dress on, everybody applauded. That was
I remember that. That was where she did the monologue that I was just like so impressed. I mean, it was jaw-dropping that she did that one take.
Yeah. One shot only. She was an amazing human being. I feel badly that I was so young doing that job because I wished I had the wisdom, what little I have now. If I had that then, some of the questions I would have asked, some of the stories I would have wanted to hear more than just, oh, look, there's Robert Redford, that. I really wished I had that knowledge to have investigated things further with most of those people. But, I was 22, 23, 20,
I parked in his parking spot, which was near the commissary. It was Wildwood Productions. And there were two spaces. I went, well, he doesn't need both. So I parked in one. I went and ate lunch, and I thought maybe he'll start yelling at me or something. But no, nothing happened.
It was fine.
But Kung Fu was next door to us. That was very weird.
Yeah. I saw, walking back from the back lot, back to the stage, I saw David Carradine and Steve McQueen standing there talking while one of them was relieving himself on the wall.
David.
Yeah, David did that in front of the commissary of the flower bed while Richard was talking to him, and he went, oh, whatever.
I mean, I'm looking because it's like Steve McQueen.
We were going into the commissary with Richard and the kids, most of the kids, for lunch. And Carradines watering the pansies. And
He did that a lot.
Richard didn't have a whole lot of nice things to say about that. Could you have done that around the corner? You know, he was not pleased because that's where everybody walked to go to the
He'd
commissary.
bring his dog in to the commissary. His name was Buffalo, and he was a one-man dog, and he had 2 different color eyes. They'd say, "You can't bring that dog into the," and he'd bring him right in there.
Yeah.
I have a funny Michael story that happened way after the Waltons was over. I was working, I was a director, manager, whatever I was at the cable company, and I had the accounting group, and we handled, I was overseeing the person that did refunds. And she comes up to me and she goes, look at this. There's all this money. I don't know, it was well over $1,000, like multiple thousands of dollars that somebody is sending a payment. And she goes, what am I going to do with this? And I look at the name on the account and it's Michael Learned. And I said, I think she wrote the balance of her checkbook as her check to pay us. So we called and I told her who I was, and she started laughing. And I go, did you do? She goes, oh my God, my husband's going to kill me. And it's like, and my employee's like, well, we have to wait till we know the check cleared. I go, it's okay. It's okay. Send her your money back. It's okay. So yeah, everything comes full circle.
Yeah, it does. It really does. That's
I remember when Ralph was directing it, and Reckless, the dog, sort of relieved himself in the pond. And I could hear Eddie Villa, he was the prop guy in the background. That's what the dog thinks of your acting, Ralph. He wasn't amused, Ralph, but we were.
Yeah.
I remember when Ralph did that. Every time he went to quiet on the set, everybody was just like, don't even breathe. This guy.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was pretty intense about it. Well, it was his big shot, you know, and he was having fun with it, but he was intense. And so that's pretty funny. Yeah.
I remember since we went down the animal trail, I learned some very important life lessons. First one.
You can't take off without turpentine?
The first thing is mules are terrified of camels.
Camels. I remember the camel.
The camel.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa. And the second thing I learned was how to hypnotize a chicken. And that was Leon.
Talk in their head.
No, you draw a line in the dirt with your finger. You take the chicken and put its beak on the line, and it'll just stay there.
Wow.
It's come in very useful. It's useful information for me. I've used it a lot. We learned a lot being on the Walton set.
Well, I remember that camel spit, and
they're evil.
And
they're nasty.
It off without turpentine, and it was like, you got to be kidding me.
They're
and
disgusting animals.
The day after they brought that camel to scare that mule, the next day I brought my dog to work, Sandy. She barked at the mule, and the mule reared.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody went, we could have saved all that money from that damn camel just having her dog, you know.
I just remember the mule taking one look when they were shooting the scene, and the mule, whatever, and they kind of just walked the mule around, and the thing just like, whoa. I mean, it was gone.
Well, that was when Richard had to jump up on the mule from behind, and when he was wearing real 1932 jeans, and we all got fan duels because his pants split from waistband to crotch. Yeah, that was a fun day as he slid off that thing with his back to the mule and went, sorry, folks, wardrobe change. He's skinnying off.
It was quite the growing up experience. Like I said, I was young and only child, and I felt like Mary was my little sister. I felt like I had brothers and sisters. I had grandparents. You really felt like, even though we were guardians, we weren't, we were kind of like fringe. Never felt that way. Felt like we were part of the family. It was really nice. I mean, it was really, really nice. Yeah, Mary was my little sister. She still calls me mom, and I still call her my kid.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Barbie, do you remember when The Exorcist came out?
Oh God, yes.
This guy was wearing a T-shirt, with the Exorcist movie logo on the front. I went, "Where'd you get that?" He goes, "Oh, just down there. There's a little bungalow. There's a whole bunch." I jumped on a bike, and which went down. I came up with a whole handful of them.
Yep, you gave
We got away with a lot.
Interesting story about The Exorcist. Apparently, Mary was up for that role.
right.
Oh,
And her mom,
One of the last
and they're a
for
Catholic
Reagan,
family.
the daughter, yeah.
And the mom, Betty, got a hold of the script of the book or whatever, and she goes, "Yeah, you're not doing it." And,
I've been asked that question, whether there was ever a script that any of our parents objected to for some reason. And I said, I don't remember anything because, the Waltons was pretty, pretty tame.
The Exorcist, yes.
They were talking about Walton episodes and,
No, I don't remember.
no. I couldn't think of any episode that would be
No, not
for any of the parents.
No, not the Waltons.
And I don't know that our parents even read the episodes. My mom might have, because she had time to sit around, and when the scripts were hanging around, she might have, read some of them. But
No.
But it was just assumed, I think, that it was a gentle and kind and loving show.
yeah, and we were network, and the standards on network were pretty restrictive.
They were just starting to get away with some stuff in the mid to late 70s, like that TV show Soap. A couple of those that were a little more raunchy and a little more wild, but you knew that's what you were going to get when you turned on that show. And if you didn't want to watch that, you could watch The Waltons. And The Waltons was a kinder, gentler, softer, sweeter show with real trauma and real drama and all that stuff. But it was just reminiscent of an older era that a lot of people at that time missed. And
and still do, clearly, because everything we hear, from viewers still.
Some of the stuff that you gals have been doing, all of you, the whole cast, going to these, and now the Cherry Blossom thing in April and all these other things that you go to, and you're so well received. It's surprising that there's still that amount of people out there that love it that much. But thank God.
Barb, I remember you came, you stayed with me. It was was it your 40th anniversary thing you guys had?
Yeah.
At the Wilshire Bell?
At the Wilshire Bell. And so Barb came down, she stayed with me, and we went. And it was amazing. I had to walk back to my car for something, and there were people that had come from Europe just for that event.
Wow.
And I heard them talking, and I was just like going, whoa, you sit there and you're like, I know these people. It's like, whoa, that's a big deal. But, people were crazy in that. That was a fun night too, Barb. Yeah.
That was a great night. That was a good weekend.
It was quite a gathering of a lot of the people that, there's certainly definitely people who were there that aren't with us anymore.
Right.
So it was probably the last big gathering of, because
Ralph was there. I remember Ralph was there.
And Ronnie Claire and Joe.
Joe was there.
Yeah. There was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
I think Richard was the only one that didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because he was doing something silly on Broadway, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember the mothers of the kids. I remember Judy. She kept Eric's mom kept a close eye on safety and all the things on the set.
And us.
And Miriam was John's mom.
Yes. Dear Miriam.
And very British lady, lovely. And then Betty would take a lot of things when we would go on a location. Like she'd be, like a couple of suitcases. I'm like, wow, But anyway, I think that was it. Yeah, and then it was us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. But yeah, Eric's mom, Judy. She, I was afraid of her at first.
We all were.
She was good though. She really was.
Oh, she was wonderful,
was.
but it was just like,
But
and
she
I
was
knew-
intimidating. I thought she
was.
hated me.
And she
I thought
kept
she doesn't approve of me.
she kept an eye on us three, like making sure we weren't doing anything improper.
Total evil eye. Yeah, she had the eye.
Mary said I was supposed to ask you about taking her to the movies.
She remembers that.
Yeah.
I took her to Westwood, and it was her first. I don't know if were they rated back then?
Yeah, she said it was her first R-rated film.
Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
think that's
God,
what-
the best movie ever made.
What did she
Cleavon.
say? I took her to see. I don't.
Cleavon
I
Little.
don't remember if she told me. She might have told me what the movie was, but she said something about taking her to her first R-rated movie.
That was me. And I think I know I took her to Westwood, and I know we saw Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Yes, I led her astray.
It's all your fault.
All your fault. Always
used to-
wrong.
We used to sing in the car into our hairbrushes on the way to and from.
Do you remember Mrs. Deeney?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
She
the
was
teacher.
the first teacher
yeah.
Yes.
on the first season.
I remember her.
Yeah.
And she was with Shirley Temple
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jodie
and
Foster.
said Shirley Temple's mother was lovely.
Mm.
What was the second one she was with?
Jodie Foster.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. And she
Well,
was
then-
going,
Wrap-
oh.
When we were working, I remember Corey and I were sitting, because I think Joyce, the three of us were sitting there along with the moms, and we were on the soundstage, and a group of people came through to investigate and look at how everything was operated for the children on the Waltons. The hours they spent there, the time they spent in school, the time for lunch, this, that, and the other thing. And they were from New York, and it was a state law in California, but it wasn't a state law in New York.
Hmm.
I guess, what were the kids that?
They had to have somebody, if they were under 18, they had to have somebody 18 or older as a guardian.
Johnny Whitaker was doing something
Okay.
in New York, and they worked him straight through almost 24 hours while the Waltons were doing the thing that they were doing.
Wow.
And that was the New York rules weren't in place yet. And so this group of people came through and asked all the moms, including the guardians, exactly what do you do? How does it work? What do the kids do? When do they eat? Go to school? The whole thing. We filled them in, and it was like within months, laws had changed pretty much on the East Coast to the West Coast so that these kids weren't going to be used and abused.
Well, you all have wonderful stories, and you have very different stories than because you were there for so much. If I have, aside from the cast, and we were all so young that, what we remember sometimes is really sketchy. And
Right.
sometimes even when we start comparing notes, I mean, it's kind of like the two of you talking about who you went to that theater production with, and when Barbie's like, it was me. So sometimes we'll be talking amongst the kids, amongst ourselves, and we'll be going, oh, blah, blah, blah happened. It's like, that wasn't how it happened. I was there. It was like something. Richard was talking about, we were doing some, we were doing something. He's like, yeah, you know how smart I am. The first season, they told us we could pick our seats at the table, and I chose to sit between Will Geer and Cammie Kotler. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You sat next to me.
No,
I know. I was there for all those seasons. You were right next to me. You were next to Will and me. So if you think I was like behaved like Cammie Kotler, I have things to worry about.
No, it was quite an experience, and it looks like we all got involved in it. It's kind of this weird way we just kind of fell into doing it.
Thank you for joining me for this final wrap-up segment with Corey, Joyce, and Barbie, who served as guardians on the Waltons. I'll see you next time for more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.